Okay. Hey, in a world where emotional labor plays a pivotal yet often invisible role in our daily lives, it's time we truly understand and recognize and address the critical issue with the help of an expert. Ladies and gentlemen, we are absolutely thrilled to have a true pioneer and visionary with us today. Before the world caught on to neurohacking, our guest was already exploring the impact of the brain's executive functions on household management and organization. I'm honored to introduce the original brain hacking entrepreneur, Dr. Regina Lark, founder of A Clear Path. Dr. Lark started her journey at the age of 50 after her position at UCLA was eliminated due to budget cuts. I understand that. Now, along with her team of ninja organizers, she provides professional support to help people clear clutter and chaos from their lives. As a certified professional organizer, accredited senior move manager, ADHD specialist, and more, Dr. Lark expertise is widely recognized, including features in the Wall Street Journal, Los Angeles Times, and Annie's Hoarders. In her latest book, Emotional Labor: Why a Woman's Work is Never Done and What to Do About It, Dr. Lark draws upon her background as a feminist historian and professional organizer of to empower women and promote gender equality at home. Please help me welcome the brilliant and inspiring Dr. Lark to the show today. I am so glad that she's here. Here we go. Uh-oh. We're not playing any music today. Well, that's interesting. I love it when things in live shows go amazingly like off kilter. So
That's why we hit the edit button.
exactly. Yeah, not today. We're just doing it live. So, hey, for our audience that might not be familiar with the concept, like, can you explain like emotional labor and why it's important to discuss?
Sure. First, thank you for inviting me to have this conversation with you.
Yeah.
You're very cool, and I'm so glad to know you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So, gosh, what to say? I uh, I laugh because you said I started my journey at the age of 50. I continued my journey at the age of 50.
Okay.
Uh, I had spent many years in higher education and finished a Ph.D. in women's history. And when I was laid off, as you said, due to budget cuts at UCLA,
Mhm.
that's the year I turned 50. And I thought, my gosh, I have the highest degree in the land. I'm in the land of opportunity. What's up? And
Yep.
so a girl's got to eat. I wasn't finding a job. It was the beginning of the recession.
Yep.
And one thing led to another. And I had 2 months into my layoff, I met a woman named Catherine Macy, who had started her organizing company. She hired me as an assistant, and I started my business. And
Okay.
that was almost 15 years ago. And in that first year, Michael, I am decluttering and organizing.
Okay.
I'm getting calls from really smart professional women between the ages of 40 and 75, and they are just overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in their homes, and they feel shame and
Mhm.
embarrassment and anxiety, and they don't have the cognitive ability or the skill set or the desire to do that kind of work in the home. So in that first year of meeting these wonderful, smart women in very cluttered spaces, I also availed myself to a lot of coursework and training
Mhm.
to work with people to help people organize with their various brain-based conditions. So
What
it's
do you mean by brain-based
well,
conditions?
people with anxiety, depression, ADHD,
Okay.
uh, neurological challenges will impact a part of the brain called the executive functions.
Okay.
And our executive functions, in many respects, they're the newest part of the brain in terms of our human evolution.
Okay.
What we're still stuck with, or what we're still gifted with, is the earlier version of our brain, located in the amygdala, the flight or fight. Everybody's heard flight or fight.
Right.
That still lives in our brain, but over thousands of years, what has emerged and where we're at today is the executive functions allow us for critical thinking, planning, prioritizing, sequencing, keeping emotionally managed, and having a really good relationship with time. Time is a construct. It's a social construct.
Okay.
If our brains or our bodies are not wired through the clock, we're going to always feel like we're behind the 8 ball.
Is that wiring what causes people to be like hoarders and some people to take on things that they shouldn't take on, or what is it?
So people who hoard, it's something that is going on with them cognitively. It's not who they are. So I don't use the term hoarders. I use people who hoard, and that is a definite brain malfunction that impacts the executive functions.
Okay.
So somebody with a hoarding disorder will be chronically disorganized, but not all chronically disorganized people have a hoarding disorder. So
Gotcha.
all of that to say is what I learned about how to manage a household, how to keep things neat and tidy. One needs access to executive functions.
Okay.
You're weak in that, you're going to have a messy house. And if you are female,
That's my question right
you
there.
were raised to do the work of the household, which we have long defined as women's work, as if you need a particular body part. Well, you actually do need
Well,
a
you do. You
particular
need some like
body part,
hands. Yeah. Yeah.
but not one that only females have. You actually need the executive functioning part of your brain working on all pistons.
Okay. So one, give me the executive part of the brain. What does it do? And then two, why is it that society thinks that women need to be the ones to do the cleaning and this sort of thing? That's where I want to get to.
Well, the executive functions of our brain have several components. One of them, it got us to this call on time.
Okay.
Heck, I was early.
You were early.
Because I have an internal clock. The executive function also allowed me to plan my calendar so that I was on your calendar today and vice versa.
Okay.
So our executive function, I think of my executive function mechanisms as a smart woman in a business suit, carrying a briefcase, getting Regina everywhere she needs to go, on task, on time, all the time.
Right.
That's how I'm wired.
That's the executive part.
Historically,
Mm-hmm.
when we look at the role of women in the home, there's so many reasons why there are hundreds, I would imagine, of reasons why we could look back historically and see why we have provided that we have this understanding that women's role is in the home. For one, most women who were born into a certain class never left the home. They remained in the home. They didn't have access to jobs, education. If you were a woman of color, or if you were an enslaved woman, an immigrant woman, then you are going to be out working for minimal wages, but you're also going to be tasked with taking on all of the roles of the household. And And one way to sort of look at this from its more contemporary origins, if you will, I think about after the American Revolution, so the 1780s, 1790s,
Hmm.
American Revolution is done, and the founders and framers of the country are going, okay, well, we're going to grow this nation and we need future leaders. Where do our future leaders come from? And they decided that our future leaders come from a well-ordered home. And we see the advent of what is called Republican motherhood.
Was that well-ordered home? Was that like literally people said this? They go, "What? We need the well-ordered home, and
Michael, I don't know
somebody's
what
got to
the
do it."
literal, I don't know what I would have to look in a history book to find out the literal translation of that. But the idea was this:
Yeah.
our future leaders are going to come from a home that's thrifty, sober, community oriented,
Mhm.
that they're coming from a home that has order, because out of order comes more order.
Okay.
So this idea that the home is going to be the locus of where we shape future leaders.
Gotcha. So somehow the women became
Not
the focus
somehow.
of the home?
Michael, women weren't really allowed in other places in human life
Okay.
unless they are shopkeepers, unless they are um, sharecroppers, unless they are forced to work outside of the home
Okay.
to help the family wage economy. Most women worked inside. They were just responsible for the inside of the household. So
Gotcha.
it was not a big stretch to think, here's a job for women, raising the future leaders of the republic. And I think, geez, what a lot of weight on her shoulders. It's like the weight of the republic. If she
Right.
screws this up, chaos.
Yeah. That makes
Well,
sense.
that really hasn't changed. And we continue to raise girls into women to notice and observe everything about the running of the household. We don't raise boys into men with the same set of noticing skills, the same set of requirements.
Right.
We will see this in households where boys are raised by single moms.
Hmm.
But again, the work of the household continues to be viewed through the lens of women's work. When you say the term men's work, nobody thinks vacuuming.
Right.
But all we have to say is women's work, and there's an instant a global understanding of what that means. So now we have this body of work in the household that we call women's work.
Hmm.
The work in and of itself is tedious, mind-numbing, boring, repetitive. It is incredibly valuable to the functioning of a household and to family happiness.
Correct.
And yet it requires a particular skill set to advance any project at home. You have to have a good relationship with time. You have to be emotionally managed in order to get it right.
Do something that you said, and I wonder if we can even flip this. It's like we want a well-functioning republic, and we need to make sure that that republic comes from a strong household. Yet somehow that person who's in charge of building this strong household is not recognized as the core strength of the household. How did
No,
that happen?
I believe women are recognized as the core strength of the household. I believe what we don't recognize
Hmm.
is what kind of skills one needs to run a good household. The
Okay.
same set of skills we need to be a successful executive are the exact same skills we need to become a professional homemaker.
Okay.
If you are at the top in your corporate environment, you either possess those brain skill sets or you hire the person who has those skills.
Right. Right.
We don't see that in the home. Outsourcing household labor is often available to people with discretionary income.
Right.
And it's often the female of the house who makes the decision to start outsourcing because she is not seeing an parity, not parity like making fun,
Right.
Rity, with the other adult in the house. What I've seen is that most households don't operate under the rubric of gender equity.
Okay. Now, this happens in the typical male female household. What about in relationships where you have like same sex partners? Does this happen also?
Uh, so same-sex couples, because there's no gender division of labor in the household,
Okay.
they have to talk about it. They have to talk about the division of labor in the household. There's no default mechanism.
Right.
So in my research for my book, Emotional Labor, I did focus groups on gender non-binary, households of color, and same-sex households.
Yes.
And what I've learned is, especially with same-sex or gender non-binary homes, the adults, they start out, they have to talk about it.
Mhm.
They talk about where their skill sets are, where their strengths lie. Where we see a shift toward a more traditional household
Mhm.
is when children come online.
Okay. I was about to say because I know a lot of people have kids and they go like, "Yep, we have kids to cut the lawn, to do the to do the chores, to do all the
Well,
things
no,
we don't want to
well,
do."
you can't do that when you're 4, but
Yeah.
what happens is they're usually, what emerges is one of the adults, one of the parents will take on the bulk of the physical work of the household and the mental load of emotional labor.
Mm-hmm.
The conversations will cease, and even in opposite, cisgender households, I had one woman say, "Yeah, we talked about everything before we got married, but the conversations ended too quickly,
Yes.
and they didn't understand that they really ought to take time to anticipate what's coming up so that they can successfully delegate or negotiate how each thing is going to be worked on as their households continue to evolve." Here's an example. I was talking to a woman. She's not only a stay-at-home mom, but she's also a stay-at-home successful lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
So she stays at home and she's got these 2 full-time jobs.
The home and
Successful lawyer,
lawyering.
stay-at-home parent. One waged, one unwaged. Her spouse is an IT person and works outside of the home.
Mm-hmm.
And she's overwhelmed. She's got a 1 and a 2-year-old. She's already overwhelmed. And she said this, "I can see it now. When it's time to start scheduling play dates for my kids, it's going to just add to the pile of stuff to do because my husband's not home." So I said to her, "But scheduling play dates involves multiple parts to it. One is
Mm-hmm.
what you do from your desk. You contact parents, you get phone numbers, you put together schedules. The physical part is picking up and delivering. So her husband could be tasked with doing all of that computer work,
Mm-hmm.
and all she would have to do is pick up and deliver.
Got you. Now, why doesn't that conversation happen? Is it because the way we're all raised, or people are saying like, "Oh, you're doing it, so just keep doing it"?
I think it's a combination of, it's all of the above. It's a combination of not anticipating what's coming up with your partner.
Mm-hmm.
It's a combination, and including um, how we were raised. It reminds me, so there's play dates, and play dates could be broken down, right? To
Mm-hmm.
calendar, to pick up, deliver, to contact the parents. But we don't break it down. We just see this as this monolithic whole. It's like laundry. Laundry is sort, wash, dry, fold, put away. There are 5 steps to it, but we think of it as this one monolithic whole.
Correct. So, what if we actually ran the household more like a business? Would things get done? And most
We
people
have
that run
to. We
businesses,
have to. We have
yeah,
to think of it as a business.
but people don't. They see it as like,
I
I'm
know.
going to work, you're going to stay home, but you're not working, you're just playing with the kids. Um,
We have to look at what is the actual work, how to value the work. Every now and again, there'll be a study emerge from a feminist think tank somewhere in the world, and the study reveals that if every single homemaker walked off the job tomorrow, it would take what, $150,000 to replace that person. And that doesn't include the overtime.
right. Now you look
So
at that and people will go like, well, I'm not paying for like raising kids. That's what we're supposed to do. And the we becomes that's what you're supposed to do, right?
that's
And
what I observe.
yeah. So how do we fix it? Like there's people who are watching this and they'll go like, "Oh, yeah, I'm getting it now." But, I don't have a like there's no way to make income off of kids, so I can't pay anybody to do this. How do I build a household where it becomes equitable and the person who's actually staying home watching the kids is getting the monetary recognition, the time off that they need, breaks so that the other person can help? What has to happen?
Well, we have to be clear about what's happening at home. We're not watching the kids. We are
Mhm.
managing a household,
Okay.
and we need to be very clear about what exactly does that mean. It's not only the physical work, vacuuming, cleaning, sort, wash, dry, fold, put away, cooking, putting dishes away, dusting. It's not just that. It's it's recognizing the invisible part of it. So we need to make a dental appointment for a 7-year-old. Well, you don't just pick up the phone and make an appointment. You poll
Right.
your friends, you find out the best dentist, you figure out what your schedule is and what the school schedule is. I mean, there's so many invisible components to every task that we do. So one strategy is for the adults in the household to make a list of all the things they each do in the household. No filters, no bars, no barriers. And then compare and contrast. And then, of all of those tasks, each one has to be parsed out. What are the invisible components to the task? And what are the more visible physical components to the task?
Okay. Now I've got a question for you. So that you'll have one partner that goes out and they earn money because they're working outside the house. You got the other partner who's doing all the things in the household. They aren't making any money, but the person who is making the money comes home and says, "I'm tired. I've been working all day. That was your job. This is my job." How do we sort that out so that it becomes equitable?
Well, then the person doing the household labor, they could quit after 8 hours.
Okay.
I mean,
We know they can't, right?
the
We know
job
they
at
can't do that.
home is 24 hours.
Right.
So, so again, it's that recognition. All you did was 8 hours. And
Right.
you didn't do a full 8 hours. You took a lunch break. You hung out with people you're not doing a full 8 hours.
So how do
If
we
you're
fix it?
You got to have conversation. You've got to have communication. You've got to avail yourself to a good mental health professional or life coach for the family. You've
Mhm.
got to talk about it. You've got to make the invisible visible. Glaring, in fact, put a big red bow around it and call the invisible what it is. It's work.
Yeah. It's unpaid work mostly. Yeah.
It's all unwaged labor.
Yeah.
Uh, and even women who are out earning the other adult in the household,
Mhm.
they're doing the bulk of the household labor. So it doesn't necessarily have to do with wages either. It's got to do with a severe lack of communication at home and shutting down, being fed up.
Yeah. So definitely from what I'm hearing, and it's making a lot of sense to me, is if you've got a partner and you've got a household, you've got to talk about it. It doesn't matter how much you've heard.
Constantly.
Yes, you can't let it just slide and go like, oh, they're going to take care of it. You've got to actually say, we need to take care of this, and what are we going to do about it? Does that
Right.
make sense? Okay.
Right.
Yeah, that's a lot of work, and somebody's got to take care of it, right? I want to do something with you. We're going to do a little let's learn about Regina today. We're going to play a game called This or That. I'm going to give you a couple of options, A or B. You can choose one or the other. You could not choose neither or both. And if you have to explain yourself, we can do that too. All right. It's all up to Regina right now. Um, we talked about household, but let's talk about. I'm just going to throw these out there, and you tell me what you think: emotional clutter or physical clutter.
It depends on your cognitive ability to deal with it.
Uh, okay, which one would you pick though? If you had to fix one.
I can't because I don't live that. I'd have no
Um,
idea what each one would feel like.
all right, we'll let you go with a neither on that, even though you're breaking the rules. How about organizing at home or organizing at work? Which is more important? Or are they the same?
It depends on what you're trying to accomplish in each space.
Hmm. What about cleaning solo or with a team?
It depends on how well you play with others.
I'm gonna break it down for you. How about daily to-do lists or weekly planners?
I am a daily.
Okay. What about traditional gender roles versus uh, challenging societal norms?
I'm a disruptor.
There you go. I love that. What about self-care or self-sacrifice?
Oh my gosh, self-sacrifice, self-care,
What's more important, emotional intelligence or high IQ?
emotional intelligence,
I agree with that. I totally agree with that. How about strict boundaries or flexible boundaries?
flexible.
Okay, yeah, I think we're like right here. um, what about work-life balance or work-life integration?
Oh, there's no way to balance anything except if you're a scale.
Okay. Let me see. Huh?
I think it's life integration, integrating everything we need to do. How do you integrate that? I mean, balance, it's such a silly word because have you ever tried to balance something?
Yeah, I have. Not good at
What? You can't
it.
go one way or the other.
Let's see. How about one more? We'll say uh, empathy-focused parenting or authority-based parenting.
Wow. Authoritarianism just has never worked in any
Yeah.
in any way. So of course empathy.
Yeah, there's people though that would argue that, and it's got to be, my rules are the highway,
Yeah, you'll
So
lose your kids.
yeah, I agree with you. I think I've got this psychic connection with you, like that we're doing this together. So I definitely want people to be in touch with you, read your books, do all this kind of cool stuff with you. You've got your clearpath.net, and we also have reginalark.com where people can find you. We also have your Facebook, A Clear Path, and Instagram at A Clear Path. And people can find you on LinkedIn also. Don't forget that /IN/Regina Lark. So I'm going to leave this up on the screen as we bounce out of here. And I want to have some more conversations because we went longer and I still want more. I want more and more. I
It
want.
was fun. You're great to talk with.
So we're going to do this again sometime in the future. Thank
Okay.
you so much for coming on,
All
and
right, Michael.
we'll catch you later.
All
Bye,
right.
everybody.
Have a good rest.